So we talked about functions. We sort of defined functions. We looked into how functions could be useful for our current program. However, we didn't actually get to how to write a function, right? So let's do that. So let's go into our Launchpad and let's find text edit. We'll open that up. And we'll just call this function.py. Desktop is fine. Yeah, it looks good. All right. So, let's make this bigger so you can see what I'm writing. So put a comment in there. So example of a function. Okay, so first we need to figure out what do we want our program to do. What is something that we might need to know how to do again and again and again? Something that's going to be a pattern, something that we'll use multiple times, like a template. Alright, so let's say that we're making an alarm clock, right? And it wakes us up. That's the goal anyways, right? But we all know that that snooze button is very appealing. So we need the alarm, the wake up message, to be a function so that it can do it again and again because we keep hitting that snooze button. So there's different things that it could do, light up, make noise, whatever. But let's just pretend that a string is going to be the simulation of the phone freaking out and making a bunch of noise trying to wake us up, right? So, good morning, time to wake up. Maybe we'll put these in different strings, right? So that way we have like 2 lines. Prints. Time to wake up. There we go. And maybe one more, like prints. Don't hit the snooze button. Because alarm should probably tell us not to since we're pretty bad about that. Alright. So we've got 3 print commands, right? Oh. Good morning. Yeah, time to wake up. Yeah, that's good. Maybe it's time. Yeah, it's time to wake up. Yeah. Okay. So we've got 3 lines of code here, right? And if we go ahead and test this just to make sure that everything works fine, we'll open our terminal. Alright. CD, desktop, and Python 3, and function.py, and it works marvelous, right? So what if we want to do that again and again, right? So we want it to be a function. So how do we do that? So actually it's really easy. So we just do def for like define, like we're creating a definition of whatever the function is called. So we're defining that function name. And we're going to call this wake up. And I like camel case, so I'm going to keep using camel case. And then parentheses, and then similar to like the conditionals, a little colon there. And then these all have to have indentations just like with the conditionals. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright. So now how do we tell it that it's no longer inside of the function? How do we make something new that isn't in the function anymore? So, let's do define the function and no longer in the function. So all we do is we just don't indent it. It knows that whatever is indented after that definition, or after that declaration of the function, defining that function, anything that's not indented after these is no longer in it. So we just put like another string here if we want to, prints no longer in the function. Alright, so let's give this a try and see what happens. So Command S, terminal. We'll just run the previous program. No longer in the function. But where did this go? Where did the defining go? Where did this, we created a function, where did it go? So what happened here was we taught it what wake up means, but we never actually told it to run the function. So once you've defined the function, then you can call it. So then we can say wake up. We can save it, and we can run it, and there we go. No longer in the function. Good morning, it's time to wake up. Don't hit the snooze button. Now, it printed this after this, and that's because we called this function that we taught it after this command. So if we want it before, we just need to move the calling of that function before that command there. So if we okay, it'll make this big again. If we reopen this, cd desktop, Python 3, function.py, there we go. Now it's above it because it is above it. Now we could do this multiple times. So we could say wake up again, and we could save it, and we can rerun it, and now it printed in there twice. Good morning, it's time to wake up, don't hit the snooze. Good morning, it's time to wake up, don't hit the snooze, etc. And then finally, no longer in the function. So each time we call it, it's going to reprint this. And so we've used 4 lines here to define the function, 1 line to call it. Now if we're only going to call it 1 time, that's kind of silly because it took us 5 lines to define it and call it once. However, if we add it again, now we have 6 lines to call it twice. That's essentially doing this twice, right? So really no net gain or net loss. But what if this was longer? What if this was a bunch of lines of code? What if this was a conditional? It just varies. It could be a lot of different things. What if it was some sort of formula that you didn't want to have to keep rewriting each time, or it was kind of complicated. Once you got it right, you want to make sure that you were having it the same way each time. It's just more efficient. You don't have to write it again and again, because now we have 6 lines for what would be 6 lines, but if we do it again, now we have 7 lines for what would have been 9 lines. Now we have 8 lines for what would have been 12 lines. And what if this was actually twice that length? Now we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 lines for what would have been, what is this, 6 times 4? 24. So it becomes more efficient the more frequently you use that function. Now the other thing too that's nice is we can call this function anywhere else in the program and use that without having to redrop it in there a whole bunch of times. So it can go back to a previous part of the program without getting some weird, crazy flow in it that doesn't make sense. And if something goes wrong with this function, if something goes wrong with what we're trying to do here, we make a mistake, we make a typo, you just fix the function once, and you don't have to fix it every single time in there because you changed the whole definition of what that function was. So it's pretty efficient.